I wonder how many Doctor Who fans are also watching Daredevil Born Again, because episode 5 from last week has the perfect structure for a standalone Doctor Who episode. The episode is self-contained. It doesn't require virtually any pre-knowledge of Daredevil before the episode, of what came before in seasons 1, 2, and 3 of the original Netflix series. It doesn't require you to know the details of what has happened in episodes 1 through 4. Enough information is already present in the episode, and then we get an incident, and we don't have to know the backstory of the bad guys to enjoy the episode. Yes, that backstory does add more detail and more nuance, but the entire episode is pretty much self-contained. And while it will connect to a greater story, it's not necessary to know the greater story to enjoy the episode. We know who Daredevil is based upon the context and the situation. We don't need to know the backstory of the bank manager, even though we know that's Ms. Marvel's father. It reminds me on one hand of Time Heist, not just because that also takes place in a bank, but also because it's a nice, tightly woven, self-contained story, as is some of the best Doctor Who that is just a standalone story. Blink is another one that comes to mind. These are really nicely, tightly contained, self-contained stories that are completely wrapped up within the time frame of the single episode, and it just reminded me that this is the solid standalone Doctor Who structure in this episode of Daredevil. I know we have some new Doctor Who season coming up in just a few short weeks, and while Doctor Who fans do love the long-running story arcs, the episodes that are standalone and self-contained often are some of the strongest and best episodes. And maybe some of us just see Doctor Who everywhere. It's just not something you see a lot in American-made television, in long-running serials, where there's a standalone episode that is 100% self-contained, but also integrated into the longer story arc. And yet it's not so far removed from the longer story arc that it feels like a diversion or a distraction or a throwaway episode. It's absolutely not a throwaway episode. When we get 22, 23 episodes in a television series, there are usually lots of throwaway episodes. Episodes that don't advance the story, that are just a side quest, that are just a distraction.